This Let's Edit with Media Composer tutorial is brought to you by VideoGuys.com, the leading reseller of video editing and production equipment for more than 25 years. Check out VideoGuys.com for great deals on Avid Media Composer software licenses, subscriptions, and upgrades, and use coupon code MC101 for 5% off any purchase. Hey everyone, Kevin P McAuliffe here, and I am back again with another Media Composer 101 tutorial, and we're done talking about settings. Now, there are a few more settings in the settings window that we could talk about, but we've really covered the basics. We covered the ones that you need to know, and let's move on and talk about probably one of the most important things inside of Media Composer, and that is bins, because as important as editing is, getting your clips and putting them somewhere and keeping them organized, and that's the key. Keeping them organized is really the key to a successful and smooth edit. And in this lesson, we're going to start our look at bins. We're going to talk about bin creation, but more specifically, we're going to talk about organization, and specifically organization in the project window, and how you can set things up to make sure that your edit runs as smoothly as possible. Okay, short introduction here. Let's just get into Media Composer, and let's get started. Okay, so let's Command and Tab into Avid Media Composer, obviously an Alt and Tab for my Windows friends out there. And once we're in Media Composer, let's head back on over to the project window. Now, Media Composer does something a little bit differently than how you might be accustomed to if you're coming from a program like Premiere or even Final Cut Pro 10. Inside of a program like Premiere, when you create a project, you create all the bins inside the project, etc., etc., all of that information is contained within a single project file. So basically, as your project's going, that project file will be getting bigger and bigger. Obviously, on the flip side of that, if anything was to happen to that project, you could conceivably lose everything. Media Composer works a little bit differently. Now, you can see that we're working in our project right now. It's just my Media Composer 101 project. But you'll remember in the window that I was in previous, the project window, when we create a new project, we have to give the project a name, and we have to set the frame rate, sort of the, as I always like to say, the export settings for your project. And what happens is that when you get into your actual Media Composer project, you're not actually looking at a project file. What we're doing when we create bins, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create 4 bins here. I'm going to create a bin. I'm going to call this clips. I'm going to create another bin. I'm going to call this audio. I'm going to create another bin. I'm going to call this graphics. And I'm going to create the last bin, of course, probably the most important. We're going to call this sequences. Okay, so here's our 4 bins. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to close these all up, and we're actually going to name them like this. I'm going to call this red audio. We're going to call it green clips. We're going to call this blue graphics. And we'll call it, I don't know, yellow sequences. Okay, you'll see why I'm doing that in just a second. Now, you remember I said that basically what has happened is that we've created this project, but really all this project is doing is linking to these bins that live on my hard drive. So of course the question is, where on my hard drive do they live? Well, you'll remember inside the project window, when we set the location to where we want all of our projects to populate inside of Media Composer, what we're going to do actually here so I can show you is I'm just going to hide Media Composer. I'm going to head to my G-Speed Studio RAID. I'm going to come into my, appropriately enough, my Avid Projects folder. We are working in the Media Composer 101 project right here. So this represents the project, but you'll see now inside of here, I actually have the individual bins right here that were just created by me. And what this gives us the ability to do is if, for example, let's say I was working on a sequence, I could be working on, a sequence with, editors all over the world. And let's say at the end of the day, if I have the media, the same media as another editor who, let's just say, is in Buenos Aires, okay? I'm in Toronto, Canada. I could take this bin, I could email it to the editor in Buenos Aires, assuming he has the same media. He could simply open the bin, and basically it would populate with all of the edits that I've already made, so he could continue the edit from there. Very quick, very simple. And the other great thing is that, to be honest, I don't normally see these bins get that big. I mean, even when we're talking about in quote-unquote very big projects, you might be talking about 20, 30, 40 megabytes. So really the file size is not that big. It's not like when you get into big Premiere projects, you're talking about hundreds of megabytes. So this is a great way that you can easily get in and back up projects. Like I said, you could back up, just the sequences bin. You could back up just the graphics bin or just the clips bin very quickly and very easily. Okay, so let's get back into Media Composer here. What I'm going to do is just Command and Tab to get back in there. Now you'll see that I came in and I created the 4 different bins. Now what I normally recommend to editors when they're starting out is to go with these 4 bins to start: sequences, audio, clips, graphics. You can essentially group everything together into those 4 categories in your edit. But let's just say, hypothetically, you happen to be working with 15 different, cameras, and you want to have a different bin for every camera that's, in your project. So here's what you would do to basically simplify this process even more. Instead of creating bins like this, to be specific, what I'm going to do is actually create some folders. And what I can do to find the folders is I can just navigate right up here to the Fast menu, and instead of creating a new bin, I'm going to create a new folder. We'll call this Clips. We'll create another one. We'll call it Sequences. Make sure we don't have a capital E there. Okay, let's create another one here, a new folder. We're going to call this, I think I created one called Clips. We'll call this Graphics. Okay, and last but certainly not least, new folder, and we will call this one Audio. Okay, and then what we can do is basically take our clips, or our graphics, our clips, our audio, and our sequences, and drop them into each one of the folders. So this way we're still being very specific about what each one of these folders is going to contain. But now once we drop down clips, if I happen to have a green clips, a red clips, a blue clips, an orange clips, all these different types of bins, this is an easy way to organize yourself. Now, of course, that does beg the question, what's going to happen if I hypothetically needed to find a specific bin? And let's just say I happen to have hundreds of bins in my project. Now again, we are fairly organized with our sequences, graphics, clips, and audio, but let's say I needed to find something. Now this is where it really becomes very important how specific you are when you get in and name your bins. You just don't want to call something clips 1, clips 2, clips 3. In a lot of cases, that's why I color code things. Now I color code things for a very specific reason. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to create some more bins here. Let's just call this Blue Audio. Okay, and I'm going to put that in the audio bin. I'm just going to create another one here. Let's call this Red Clips. Okay, you'll see where I'm going with this in just a second here. I'm not going to get too specific and start creating tons of bins. Let's go Yellow Graphics. Okay, and last but certainly not least, why don't we go with Blue Sequences? Okay. Okay, so this is again fairly organized, fairly straightforward. Now in most cases you're probably not going to have more than one sequences bin, but that's okay. You get where we're going. Okay, so basically what's happened is the producers come along and said, oh, you know what, Kev, we really need to find this footage really quick. I need to know, I need to see all of the bins that contain red footage. This could be red audio, it could be red clips, it could be red graphics. Really, I just need to see them all very quickly. In a lot of cases, you see people coming going, okay, well, I'll twirl this one down. Oh, no, I don't have one in there. I'm going to come to graphics. Oh, no, I don't have one in there. That's already too much work. We don't want to be getting in and doing that. All we want to do is to do a simple search. And how we can do that is very easily right up here at the top of the project window. You'll see as I hover over it, you can see that we now have the bin search tooltip pop up. All I'm going to do is simply come right up there and I'm going to type in red. And as soon as I type in red, now I'm going to be shown only the bins that have been tagged or named with the word red. Now, of course, I could change that to be clips. If they say, what are all the different type of clips bins that you have in here? Well, I've got a green clips and I have a red clips that represent, the red camera and the green camera, hypothetically, if we were calling it that. But this is a very easy way for you to get in and to sift through all of your bins very quickly and very easily. But of course, the key is you need to stay organized when naming your bins. Now, in our fast menu dropdown, we do have a few other options in here. Fairly straightforward things like the open bin feature. We can open selected bins in one window. We can create new bins and new folders. We can even close projects. We can delete bins, and we can even empty the trash. Now, what's going to happen is let me just remove my search here. I said with the sequences, we normally only have one sequence bin. What I'm going to do is I'll just stick with the blue sequences. I'm just going to delete the yellow sequences, and you'll see that they've now appeared in the trash. Now, I could conceivably just leave them there for the span of my edit, just in case I ever had to go back to them. But if I know that I'm not going to want that bin anymore, all I need to do is simply head right back up to the fast menu, come down to empty trash, say empty, and that bin is now gone. Okay, so that's really the fundamentals about creating bins. This lesson I wanted to use that as sort of as a foundation to get you rolling. In our next lesson, we're going to talk again about being specifically organized inside your bin, and I'm going to talk about creating bin views and how bin views are going to be used to, again, keep you very organized when editing and even let you get in and create some custom bin views, custom parameters that you can get in and search very easily depending on the type of project that you're working on. Now, before I wrap up this lesson, I want to thank our sponsor Video Guys, and don't forget to check them out and use coupon code MC101 for 5% off your Avid purchase or any other purchase including G Technology storage, software plugins, and so much more. And if you like this tutorial, please click that subscribe button, and don't forget that if you have any questions, you have any comments, or you have any tutorial requests, you can post them in the comments section below this lesson, or you can send them to Kevin P McAuliffe at gmail.com. This has been Kevin P McAuliffe. Thanks a lot for watching.